Take two.
Rookies.
Right. Hey, welcome to a very special episode of Professional Hippies. I'm your host, Colton, along with Dylan, and we are joined today by Ham Dog himself from previous episode, highly requested by no one, and my brother from another mother, Kel Mewburn. Let's give it up. So excited to have you in today because I feel like everybody has had a chance to experience a little bit of my childhood just through the stories I've shared about you.
Just a little bit.
And, I think what's really special to honor is the journey that you've had quite literally to get here, to be in the free world, to be a man that has overcome so much. And today we get to hear a little about like what that was, what that hurdle was that you overcame, and dive into that. So if you don't know us, we're the Professional Hippies. We like to bridge the gap between the high achievers and the hippie woo-woo. I think what we're going to talk about today is something that everybody can draw something from. So I'm excited to get into it. All right, boys, let's remember our training. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We are some hippies, these are my friends. Come along with me, see how the story ends. We are some hippies, these are my friends. Come along with me, see how the story ends.
Yeah, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the Professional Hippies. We're going to have to redo something with that intro. We don't have to.
We don't have to, but evolving, I think. Evolving.
Add a little flavor.
That's what it's all
Add
about.
a little spice.
Ooh, to make it nice.
That's right. So,
Man, I am so glad to meet you, Cal. All the stories, I'm looking forward to more stories here.
Dude, just to start this morning, the stories have already started. I'm excited, man.
So I'm curious between you two, because you guys have heard enough about my childhood or the way I was raised. Like, what's one thing that stands out for you where you're like, that defines a Mewborn? Do you have a moment in our friendship where you're like,
loud.
I'll tell you, loud.
You can just tell you're related, man.
I can tell, like, your energy is already up, too. Like, from the time he wakes up to the time he goes to bed, his energy is up. And I can tell with you, too, you're just like, what are we going to talk about today? I got tons of stuff. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So for everybody that, doesn't know you, Kel, I mean, like, what, if you're going to introduce yourself, I mean, give everyone a shout. Like,
so this is sort of like that elevator speech, huh?
Yeah,
so
sure.
Like,
Give it to us, man.
All right. So if I was to introduce myself, and I'm sure it would definitely have to be circumstantial. Who are you talking to? So if I was just to walk up and meet one of your friends, say, hey, I'm Colton's brother, and tell you a little bit about myself. All right. So growing up in Panama City, everybody knows that you hear about it on the map as being the spring break capital of the world. And so it's fueled with a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, and also growing up, we lived in an establishment in which we opened up like the first country western line dancing bar in Panama City, Stetson's. And so that sort of like transitioned into Buck Wild, which was another nightclub in Panama City, which transitioned into Shaggy Marlin's, which transitioned to another nightclub in Nashville, Tennessee. So my life was primarily centered around drugs, alcohol, fighting, bar nights, clubbing, and the such, right? And so that leads you down a different path than one of, finding success in life and what life is really about. And so it's taken me now, here I am, 39 years old, and I'm sitting here next to my brother. Super proud of all of y'all and what y'all got going on, man. Really, it is just touching. And I'm just so proud to be sitting here next to y'all right now. And but from that transition in my life, as well as anything in that lifestyle, man, it doesn't last. It just does not last. And you end up in like three places, You end up behind bars, you end up on the street, or you end up dead. Right? Unfortunately, I'm sitting here right now, so I've overcome those. And so, yeah, I've got a little story about how I overcame that. It wasn't, the first go-around, the second go-around, third go-around, fourth go-around. It's actually the fifth time, that I've actually stepped outside of the wire, and I'm sitting here with y'all today. So, for a lot of people who think that they've been through a lot of stuff and they can't overcome it, that's not true, man. That's not true. And so I would tell that person that I met that, whatever you're going through today, it's only temporary, and that you can overcome that. And I'm sitting here with you gentlemen today.
That's an honor.
Yeah, definitely an honor.
Mm-hmm. Man, one thing that I was telling Michael the other day when we were on the way back to Panama City, I mean, there was so much stuff coming up, we were rolling through and like, oh, but that spot and then this spot.
Yeah, anytime you go back to Panama City, you can always reminisce. You've always got something going on.
I'll tell you, it's a waterfall of stories. As you're driving by, it was just like memory lane. You're like, oh my gosh, this.
Yeah, it was so cool too to share that with you, right? Because it's like you don't have too many opportunities to take someone that you've developed such a great relationship with back to like an old version of yourself.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, do you ever feel like that when you go back to Panama City? I mean, you're coming into memory lane and you're like, wow, that was me.
That was me, yeah. And thinking about it, you wonder, like, how did I even, end up down that road? What was that turning point in which took me down that road? And then you ask, how the hell did I end up where I'm at right now? What decisions did I make to end up where I'm at right now? But yeah, so I've actually ridden back to Panama City several times with Darlene. She grew up there also when we moved to Port St. Lucie, and we established a life together in which we were trying to go down, this sober living. And as we go back together, we're both able to reminisce about stories, because before we moved to Port St. Lucie, we were sort of like, partners on the street together. It was like the only person I could actually trust. And so as we're going back to Panama City, we're like, damn, we cannot believe, we were living that type of lifestyle. We were running heroin, methamphetamines, we were running trap houses, and it just blows my mind, to see where we're at today. But as you were in Panama City, you're coming down 231. As soon as you touch down, you're in Bayou George. You're like, yeah, that's a trap house over there. And you got Callaway, like trap house over there. And you hit the beach, you're like, there's a spot, there's a spot. But it's so... you look back at it and you're like, damn, I cannot believe that. Pretty much every moment that I remember, was around drugs or alcohol or just doing something deep.
Numbing.
Oh, man.
Numbing.
It's insane, And so I really look forward to, creating memories that supersede those memories, and they have. Several times we go back to Panama City and we visit the girls and we visit family, and, we're creating new memories now. And slowly those old memories begin to dissipate, because as I travel back into Panama City now, I remember, hey, this is when, I was teaching Kendall, how to drive. We're over here on the back roads and her first encounter on a 2-lane highway, and those are the memories that I'm starting to that come to mind now as I enter in Panama City, which is just remarkable unto itself, because I never thought that I would have it would be able to happen like that.
Yeah.
And they say time erases, or as time goes on, it heals all wounds, and it's the same thing with like your memories. What memory makes the most impact. They talk about triggers. Well, I don't have those triggers anymore as I go into Panama City. Like thirsty to go hit the dope hole or whatever to go see this chick because of that memory. Now these memories that are coming up are memories that you have with your kids or with your family, and it's pretty empowering, dude.
Yeah, we rolled by Dad's old shop. I showed him the house.
Damn, did you?
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking, isn't it?
Oh, yeah,
it looks nothing like the stories, man.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
Like I said, I got all them pictures under the bed.
Oh, you break them out for him, huh?
No, I haven't showed him.
You haven't showed Mike yet?
Huh?
You haven't showed Mike the pictures?
No, after the podcast, I'll show you all that stuff. You haven't even seen any of that stuff from Dad's passing.
I haven't.
Yeah, you got a bunch of that stuff. Shina, Shiraz, all the horses.
Yeah, I forgot about Shiner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was a German Shepherd. We grew up, we had, so we used to have this dog named Max. And for whatever reason, Dad just would inherit these German Shepherds, right? Max was an old police dog. Him and Dad never got along. I don't know why. Never got along.
And you kept him? You just kept him around?
I mean, Max was great to everyone else. Max is the best. Big old German Shepherd. And we had this bar about half a block from the house. I mean, you walk to the stop sign, take a right, there's Cleo's. Oh, Cleo's off of 390.
We've had the horses get out and go over to Cleo's. We've had to round them up.
Bet. Max used to go up to the bar and get drunk. They would pour beer in a bowl for him and get this dog shit-faced, take it home, and then call my mom and be like, hey, I got your dog.
Call him an Uber.
Yeah, my mom would be so pissed. She was like, this is like a teenager I was taking care of. This dog I remember there was one time I came home from school. Dad had built an 8-foot tall chain link fence. He was like, this is it. Fuck you, Max. You're not going anywhere. No sooner did he finish building that fence, and I watched Dad take a step back, put the hands on hips. I'm done. Did he watch? I saw it with my own eyes. Max climb that fence like a person, jump out, walk next to Dad, sit down, start panting. He was like, son of a bitch. Got out the wire cutters, cut that bitch down, took it right back to Home Depot.
Like to return this.
You freaking.
He goes, fine. You want out? You got out. You got it. You win.
Do you remember that dog Dad had, Buster? No,
Brutus,
right? He loved this dog. He would come home from work.
He had a funny way of showing that dog love, too.
Listen, he would come home from work, take his boots off, put him up on that little wooden bench, and the dog would just sit there and lap his
Dude,
in between
lick
his toes
in between these master mechanic toes. Coming out these greasy boots.
And what's crazy is, so, like, whenever Dad would drive home, you know, he's got the 250 or he's got the service truck, right? So he's got the rumbling of the diesel, so the dog knows that he's coming from miles away. Sits out by the road and he runs, you know, along the side of the truck as he's pulling in. And one day I went out on a call in Dad's service truck. Do you remember this?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I come home, man. I did not see him, dude, and I ran the dog over and killed him. Dad wouldn't talk to me for like 2 weeks.
Well, not immediately, by the way.
No.
The dog didn't die immediately. So I got to watch Dad fucking crumble.
Oh, no.
Hold the dog in his hands.
And me and him weren't on good terms as it was anyway.
Right. You didn't exactly have favors in the bank.
No, we did not, man. And then I killed his favorite dog.
Yeah.
Ran him over.
Yeah.
Right in front of him, too. You know.
Sure as shit. I saw it happen, too. You know.
Like, well, now I got all this dog food. Guess what's for dinner for you now?
Man, that was the thing.
He wasn't right ever since, was he?
What, Dad?
He lost Brutus. And
Oh, you think that was the thing?
No, that wasn't.
Yeah, that was the tipping point.
No, that wasn't.
I don't know,
Is
man.
that really?
You get a good toe liquor, man. It's painful to lose them.
Yeah, I mean, just to paint the image of that house, though. I mean, that house was
Center block house is only painted on the inside. No insulation whatsoever.
crackling laminate, flooring. We have window units. If they worked.
Yeah.
Right? But my mom never understood why I loved going over there. And I was telling Michael this. It took me a long time to articulate and understand why I did too, but it was the freedom. I mean, it was just pure anarchy.
That type of place isn't going to have many rules, it sounds like.
My dad
try to
didn't give
enforce
a
the
fuck.
rule. You try to place rules, they just do not give a fuck.
I mean, Dad was like, listen, you know, he was very much a person. It's like,
just clean up after yourself, right?
he knew, he would tell you what to do. But if you remissed on that, he was, I mean, he's like, I'm no better. It's like, you know, he caught me sweeping dirt under the couch one time because he asked me to sweep. And he goes, should I do the same thing? You know, so it's like, it was always like, come on, I'm your father, but I'm also getting hammered at Cleo's too. So
he was like, I do as I say, not as I do, but I'm going to understand if you do what I do.
Exactly.
You want to hear something funny? So Dad brought this chick home one time, and I remember downstairs, and I was making a pot of coffee, and I see this chick come down. I'm like, damn, hell yeah, she's kind of hot. So Dustin comes down to his room. He's like, bitch, what the fuck are you doing here, right? And I'm like, this is my younger brother yelling at this chick that Dad just brought home. He's like, bitch, what the fuck are you doing here? You gotta see the look on her face, like total surprise, right? I'm like, whoa, what is going on here? And I'm like, dude, come outside real quick. What's going on? He's like, dude, me and Robert just ran through that ass like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, we fucked her in the ass. We fucking filled her up. And I'm like, oh, man. We gotta tell Dad about this. He's like, don't tell her. Yeah. So I definitely, gave it to him about a month later.
Yeah, you can't not.
Well, because she kept on coming around. Remember, this is the chick that he would bring over, and she just, hey, I just need to wash some clothes over the house.
Yeah,
and she would go borrow the truck. Oh yeah, this is interesting. Yeah, she borrowed the truck one time, and Dad calls me. He's like, this bitch has been going with the truck all day long. We need to go find it. And I'm like, what do you mean this fucking truck's been going all day long? I thought she went just to go get a laundry. So, Panama City's not that big of a place, and Dustin told me, he's like, man, she's a fucking crackhead. I was like, dude, you went and fucking picked up a crackhead, and I know you and Robert don't strap up,
right.
And y'all went and ran through this crackhead, right? That's pretty cool, bro. I'm really proud of you, man. Sure as shit enough, though, man. So me and two of my buddies, we go downtown, we hit the hood, and sure as fucking enough, we see this black dude driving the fucking truck. So we chase this guy down. We finally pull over, and he's got a pistol in his lap. He's like, what the fuck you crackers doing and shit? And we're like, this is my fucking truck. And he's like, oh, don't call the police, man. I said, just give me the truck back, man. Like 2 days later, the chick shows back up. Dad's got her back in the house again.
No shit.
Oh, man.
No shit. Yeah, talk about
chasing that pussy.
That's what I'm saying. Pussy will make you do some crazy shit, dude.
That house was a revolving door, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time you saw a pair of titties was coming down the stairway, huh?
Sure was. Yeah.
Does Marsha know about it?
Marsha, I don't think she's going to listen to this too.
She's gotta listen to it, yeah.
I wonder if that was the first pair of knockers I had seen. I mean, I was 12?
Probably in person.
Yeah.
In person.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me, like, dude, I fucking experienced my first hard on with a face-to-face encounter.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, face-to-face encounter.
Bro, if you're not getting hard ons by like 7, what's going on?
Face-to-face encounter.
Face-to-face encounter.
Yeah, face-to-face encounter.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe.
With your niece's mother.
When you frame it like that,
Sick. Yeah, you're real sick, dude.
a little weird.
That does make it real weird.
I mean, I
It
can't.
sounded more like Wakulla County here than it is.
Same
not
place.
blood.
Same place.
I can't sit here and say like it did or didn't happen. But if I'm 12 and I saw a pair of knockers, one can only assume. Let's connect the dots.
Was that about the
For
same?
sure.
I
For
think
sure.
That morning was when everybody was cussing each other out too, huh?
Which morning?
Yeah.
That all blends together.
I was telling Kel not too long ago. Like so when I was growing up, Kel was in and out of trouble, jail, prison, whatever. So like we didn't really have a relationship until I was about 12 years old. I only knew him through letters, red ink. I just remember seeing red ink letters. And one of the few memories I have is him coming home and beating the ever loving shit out of Dustin over nothing.
Yeah.
Over nothing.
You sure it was over nothing?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Sounds
Dustin
about right.
was screaming it's over nothing as you're beating his ass.
That's some good trauma right
Picked
there.
him up over his shoulders and threw him on his head.
Listen, it's not trauma. It's instilling discipline and. That's what
Good morals.
Sounds like a senior and a freshman.
Could be further from the truth. Could not be further from the truth.
Look at the man he's become today.
So anyway,
All right.
That says it all right there.
so yeah, I mean, one of the few memories I had is we're cleaning the house, which didn't happen often. It was like we all got spurts, whatever you guys happen to be on that inspired you to clean the house, whether it was women coming over, drugs you'd done, whatever. We're mopping the house, and Dad comes home from work and walks straight into the living room. Kel goes, "What the fuck?" Dad's like, "What's going on?" He goes, "Your son spent all day mopping. You trapped the fucking boots through the house, fucking asshole." And Dad didn't even miss a beat. He goes, "My fucking bad. Asshole didn't know. You should say something to fucking asshole." It was just the way they would communicate. Because, I mean, there's such a big age gap,
Yeah.
right? So I was always like tender, soft-spoken. And you see Kel and Dustin and Dad, I mean, just running amok. Because Dad always had it together until 5, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then that's when the case of Natty Light he'd been drinking all day caught up, or the
So it
captain.
starts kicking in, yeah.
Yeah, and then him and his wives would just come unhinged at each other.
Wives.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was definitely a plural there, wives.
Oh, for sure.
How many wives?
How many times was he married? 4?
Three times. Yeah.
3 times. He told me on
My mother, your mother, and Sherry. Is that her
Sherry.
fucking name?
Was that her name?
I'll try to forget that one.
You gave her hell.
Yeah, definitely gave her hell.
But Dad told me right before his deathbed that
That we contemplated killing her.
shout out to Sherry that has died.
We were so happy when she passed. Also, I'm not even kidding.
There was a celebration.
This
That was,
family
yeah.
was so happy. That woman was a fucking tumor on our ass. I tell
Oh,
you,
man.
what a terrible experience.
So, I went to prison. All right, so let me tell you the situation. So I had gotten out of prison. I was on probation, and I wasn't out for like 6 months. And I remember getting hammered, fucked up, spring break. And before I left, though, Sherry and Dad, they had already popped the bottle on the vodka. And this was probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning before we headed out to the beach. And I remember, man, they just had a serious falling out. And she had told me, she's like, if you come back and you don't see your dad here, it's because I've called the law, right? And so I was like, bitch, you call the fucking law on Dad and you get him arrested. You have to see me. So I remember coming back, zanned out, fucking cocaine, natural. That's what we do, spring break. Fucked up. Come back to the house, just stopping in, going to take a shower, grab a bite to eat, and head back out to the beach. And I get there, and I start calling Dad's name. He's nowhere to be found. Now, I don't run upstairs to go check his room or anything, but he's not answering me, right? Neither is Sherry. So I'm like, this fucking bitch done called the law. I took it upon myself to go grab a shovel out of the barn, and I bashed all of her fucking windows out of her car. And, bashed all of her fucking windows out of her car, right? So check this out. She just called the law on my dad. So bashed all the fucking... Now, mind
maybe
this.
because you didn't check, but...
So let me tell you what's fucked up.
Taking a nap.
So I noticed that all of her shit was packed up. All of her valuables, her clothes and shit were packed up in the back of, I think it was Cadillac or some shit like that. And so
Lincoln Town Car.
Lincoln Town Car. Is that what it was? So I grabbed all of her jewelry and I took it to the strip club, Golden Nugget, right? Yeah. And I gave it all out. I gave all of her fucking jewelry out. I think it was like the second time I've ever been to a strip club. I didn't come in with no money whatsoever, just jewelry. And I passed it all out. Just threw it out there on the floor and shit. And these strippers were like all picking it up. She actually came from some money, so all the shit was pretty much real, right?
Yeah.
And you literally brought golden nuggets. Golden nugget.
That's probably the first.
Yeah.
Owner's like, finally.
Okay. Try to plant some seeds here.
So it's crazy because it was probably maybe an hour or two after I left that, somebody had said, hey, man, the fucking police are looking for you. And I was like, fuck, Well, I didn't have any of this shit on me. And I know nobody saw me do it. So I was like, yeah, that wasn't me. And damn sure no. Do you know fucking Dad and Sherry were fucking up, sleep, passed out, and upstairs the whole time. No, it's never left. So I went back to prison for that. No. Oh, thank you, Sherry.
Well, that was on you.
Yeah, that was.
Let's take that one on the chin. Yeah. Sherry had nothing to do with that. She laid the foundation, but you really built that house.
You gave her a layup on that one.
You did. You really gave her all the fuel she needed.
It was such a blast, though.
Was that also the time that Dustin had to figure out how to drive stick because you were so barred out?
No. I think that's because when the police ran down on me, I was on the beach. I already knew they were looking for me, so I packed my shit up. We were heading to California. I didn't make it past Thomas Drive. I had to stop and grab a burger. And I remember as I was walking out of the establishment, it was Hamilton's, matter of fact, before the tornado took it out. And I had this chick, Gina, with me. She was going to go and be a stripper, and another guy named Ian, who was sponsored surfing and skating at the time. And I remember I had my guitar, I had my tool bags and shit, and we were haul ass California. And we walk out, and I noticed cop car sitting across the street. And I was like, fuck, here they come. And they were like, what are you going to do? I said, what can I fucking do? So I just walked out to the truck. As soon as I did, they come flying up, gravel parking lot, slinging gravel at us, pistols down, because I'd already been in prison for a drive-by. So, of course, they're going to have the pistols pulled out. And I'm like, all right, guys, y'all got it. And it was one of my good friends that arrested me. He's like, dude, what the fuck did you do again this time? Shaking my
How many
head.
times you heard that?
Several times, actually.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, T-ball coach, whenever he arrested me for the drive-by, he's like, Kelly, what the fuck did you do? This is after I'm like, suck a dick, pig. Yeah. Yeah, this is like right before the Y2K happened, They had that genuine concern for you, because they knew you as a kid and they watched you grow up. And you actually had a decent upbringing. You were surrounded by a good family at that time when we were growing up and we were young. Dad was really, really active as our head coach for our football team and for our baseball teams. He's always active. So it's not like we were raised at a very young age to just go straight down that fucking hole, he actually,
you just took it upon yourself to.
Well, no, things definitely started falling apart. Yeah, definitely things started falling apart. In the through our parents, from my mom, through Dad, both of them, So
yeah, well, there was, one of the things that I appreciated about the time I got to spend with Dad there at the end was seeing what had grandfather and great grandfather, how that had impacted him, and how holding on to all that trauma really was the manifestation of being an alcoholic, smoking those cigarettes, and the way
the pills.
The way he beat himself up was he just never let that shit go.
No, he never did. He wouldn't even talk about it.
Wouldn't talk about it.
Never would talk about it, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I'll never forget when we were up there at a family reunion, and Granddaddy spoke fucking one word an hour.
Yeah, you don't hear anything come out of him.
But he loved telling that story about spanking Dad with a handheld circular saw.
I never heard that story.
What?
How do you beat somebody with a circular saw? How do you stand for that?
It was the only way Dad wouldn't put his hands on his ass.
You mean you're talking about the cord of the circular?
He took the flat part of the circular saw and spanked Dad with it, so he wouldn't put his hands behind his butt.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So,
wow. I've gotten belts,
trauma,
whips. I've gotten many different things, but
I've gotten a lot of things.
Handsaw, woo!
Our cousin, funny cousin, called me one night, and he was real drunk after. It was about a year and after Dad's passing, and I was on the way back from Panama City, and he just laid into how much of a piece of shit our grandfather and great grandfather were.
Yeah.
And I mean, I never really knew. I got kind of the best end of all the worlds. Granddad, grandma, dad.
They all loved you.
By the time I came along, everyone was so worn down that they were just like, "If you're good, we love you."
Just do it, man. Just figure it out.
And I really did. I learned so much by watching you and everyone else fuck up. And you're like, "Hey, if you don't want to go to jail, like don't do that." So I definitely got to vicariously live through that, and I mean, it worked.
It worked.
But one thing I am curious to dig into was the times when you were running mushrooms from Orlando.
Yeah, so that's an interesting portion of my life. So let me tell you how I got down to Orlando. So I just got out of prison, and I didn't have nothing. I couldn't go back and stay with Dad. This is after the incident occurred with Sherry. All right, so I finally get out of prison on that one. And
how long were you in prison for that?
Man, I had to go back and look. Probably about 2 years, something like that. Yeah. So I don't have anywhere to stay. A couple of buddies, they round me up, take me out to Hooters, and we're eating. And, I don't have a dime in my pocket. And I remember at the end, they had a cute waitress. Her name was Brittany Hoffman. And these motherfuckers passed me the bill in front of her, right? I'm like, you motherfuckers, y'all know I can't pay this shit. And I got to say that in front of her because she's waiting on the tab to come back, right?
Sure is.
And Fat Nick's like looking down at it, right? Like, and what it is, her number's on there, right? So I'm like, cool, fuck yeah. So I finally got it, right? She takes care of the fucking bill.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so I contact her, all right, so I go stay at her house. So anyway, so a buddy of mine, he hits me up, and he's like, look, man, I really need your help. He had his arm in a cast. So yeah, buddy of mine, he hits me up. He goes, look, man, I got a situation. He said, excuse me, let me go backwards. First of all, he feeds me a couple hits of red gel tabs at about 7:30 in the morning, and we're gonna go on an adventure. And about an hour and a half into it, we're really fucking feeling it. And he's like, man, I got a fucking situation. He goes, my girlfriend was raped. And I'm like, dude, what? He goes, yeah, dude, my girlfriend was fucking raped, and I want to go take care of these guys. And I'm like, well,
after you take an acid?
This is the only way to do it. And so
this is the
only way to do it.
What do you mean?
So you've never eaten a red gel tab, obviously.
No.
You've never eaten gel tabs at all, then.
I've had gel tabs. I've had gel tabs, and they make you...
Exactly.
But you're saying
so you understand now. Yeah. All right? So you understand.
That's true.
And so
that was when I was naked doing laundry. That's a gel tab.
You can't... All right, there's only so many times Tamara can really keep up with that. But
bleep it?
Sure, go
all
ahead.
Right, so anyway,
first name, no worries.
So here's the thing. Yeah, so we were not naked, hanging out together. And... So I'm like, all right, so let's go take care of this.
You make that way worse.
All right, so let's go take care of this. So it's interesting. He didn't pick me up from my house. Actually, she let me use her car. I drove to his house. And so we start going down Bat Beach. We turn down a road. As we turn down this road, I'm like, dude, I'm living on this road. And he's like, yeah, that's where they're at. That's where they're at. He didn't know where I was staying at. He didn't even know who I was staying with. And so when we pull up to the house, it's the house directly next door to where I'm staying at. I'm like, dude, we're fixing to kick this door in. And I'm like, holy shit. So anyway,
that's not good.
Long story short, dude.
Again, I just want to take the time. You keep saying names.
Yeah, we can say Tony.
Okay.
Tony's cool, man. Tony's cool, and he's doing a great thing.
Checking in.
And yeah.
Hey, Tony.
Hey,
Tony.
So I go stay down with Tony. And this is my first introduction into city life when we moved down to Orlando, and I'm blown away, man. I'm really digging everything I see down there, and I want to be a part of this life.
Oh wait, so from Panama City to Orlando, this is your first big city.
Oh yeah, definitely. Outside of actually going to see family in Birmingham, I had never been to a city.
Okay.
Ever, And so the trip down there, I remember I take a bus, right, and I've got a gallon of orange juice, and I sit down next to a guy, and he's got a liter of vodka. And I'm like, wow, this was meant to be, huh? So we drink screwdrivers all the way down to Orlando. It was uneventful, but nevertheless, we were shit-faced by the time we got down there. So when Tony picks me up, he's like, dude, you fucking drunk? I'm like, woo, yeah. Here we are. He goes, oh, this is going to be a blast. So anyway, it only takes me probably about a month before I secure a job. I've got a vehicle. I'm actually got, my own LLC. I'm actually doing some pretty cool shit, and I'm loving the direction that I'm going now. And then the club life starts kicking in. I'm down there getting soaked up by, Roxy's, and there was a couple other establishments, and I was like, wow, this is home again. So I ended up getting back into the nightlife, started doing drugs again, popping rolls, acid. Next thing you know, I got introduced to methamphetamine, right? And that just destroyed my life. Within 6 months after what I had, I think I was down there for probably about a year. And in that time frame, I established that little, limited liability corporation called Sky's the Limit. And it was interior, exterior trim, and carpentry work. And I really felt like I was starting to become a really good skilled tradesman at the age, I think, like 23 years old. I was really starting to make an impact and working downtown on all of these new homes that were popping up, dude. And it was just like, hell yeah. But the methamphetamine just like destroyed everything overnight. Within like 3 months, dude, I lost everything. It was fucking crazy. And I didn't know what the hell I was going to do with myself. But in that time, when you're up at all hours of night and day, you try to find stuff to do. And over there in Orlando, man, you're just surrounded by cow fields. Growing up in Panama City, one of our things was picking mushrooms. Love mushrooms, right? My next door neighbor, this guy, he was on the run from Michigan, actually, and he was raising his family. It was his wife and 3 children, and he was doing a pretty good job. He and his wife were maintaining. He was on the run from Michigan, and then I introduced him to methamphetamines also. So I destroyed his life as well, and his wife just like she fucking hated me, And I remember he was like, dude, I just can't maintain this anymore. I got to go back to Michigan, and we're going to move back in with her mom. And I'm like feeling so bad about it. And I've got like 16 pounds of mushrooms in the fridge. And I'm like, well, let me throw you a party, dude, before you fucking go home, right? Smoke a bowl. And he's like, well, what's up? What are we going to do? What are we going to do for food and shit, right? Well, we don't really think about food much. And I'm like, I'm going to go kill a cow. So we go out to this cow. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So me and 2 of my buddies, we load up. We go out to this cow pasture with this big jacked up Z71, and we got a shotgun. And it's probably about 4:30 in the morning when we're picking mushrooms while we're contemplating on which steer or which cow we're gonna take out. Well, we see this baby calf, and we're like, that's the one we're gonna fucking get right there. All right, so we're at this time, we're tripping. We've been up for like 3 or 4 days. So as delirium takes in, everything is just, this is a good time. We're having a great time.
This is not your cow tipping story.
No. And we're all like 140, 150 pounds, and we're all like camouflaged out, long stringy hair. We look like meth heads. And so we sort of like get this calf separated from the rest of the herd, and he's got a shotgun in his hand, and I'm like, fucking shoot it, man. And he fucking points it right at the skull, right in between the 2 eyes, dude. I'm like, before I can get the words out, no, because we had to put down a pony,
yeah.
Right? And Dad shot Sundance. Dad shot it right in between the eyes.
Can't do that.
You can't do that, dude. They got thick ass fucking skulls, and I remember the pony hit the fucking. We dug this. Dad, it broke Dad, dude. So I had to take the pistol from Dad and then shoot it behind the ear. Anyways. So I had already been through this situation. And when he fucking shot the calf, I noticed when he shot the shell, a yellow shell popped out. I'm like, dude, that's fucking bird shot. Oh. What the fuck, man?
Yeah, fuck that situation.
Dude. So he, put it behind the ear. He had to fucking unload it like 3 or 4 times. We're like, damn, that was fucking awesome. Here it is, 5 o'clock in the morning, and we're in a cow pasture, and we're just unloading on this calf. We're like, fuck, man.
I'm waiting for you to say fucked up. He goes, awesome.
Hey.
Oh my God.
So now we've got to get this, and we got to get this calf in the back of the truck, dude. You're talking about 3 strung out fucking crackheads trying to lift up, a 250, 300 pound calf in the back of the truck.
Right.
So we start dragging across this dewy field, it helped us out having to do across the field. But nevertheless, dude, I mean, it was very difficult to get it over there, at least to the barbed wire. And you got 3 rungs of barbed wire, so you got to pull up the bottom one while you're trying to pull this calf underneath it, and the barbed wire is catching onto the skin and making it, a bitch. Well, the sun is starting to crest, and people are starting to go to work. All right, now we got to drag it through a ditch, cross the road, and then throw it in the back of the truck. So we get into the ditch. Here comes the first car. So we got to lay in this ditch. And it's probably got about 6 inches of water. We got to lay in the ditch, lay on top of this fucking calf. Or actually, we're laying underneath it. And it's just nasty as hell. If you can only imagine what a calf would, smells like, feels like, dude, laying on your skin. You probably had to take a shower in 3 days anyway, so you don't really care. And it just makes it that much more intense what you're doing because, you don't want to get caught. Especially shooting somebody's calf. I mean, like in certain states, you can get hung for that.
That's a big deal.
That's a big fucking deal. So we end up dragging it across the road, and then we end up, oh man, you should have seen us trying to fight. These 3 crackheads trying to fucking fight, putting a 250, 300-pound calf in the back of a fucking jacked up Z71.
Every bit of 253.
Every bit of 250.
Every bit of
We
it.
finally got the ass in the back of the truck. Once you get the ass in the back of the truck, everything else, no, it wasn't easy. But we finally got in the back. We were exhausted. We get it back to the house. We're like, dude, what the fuck are we going to do with this now? We finally get it up in the oak tree. Now, the place I lived at was a place called Winter Garden. It was downtown Winter Garden also. And there's no fencing up in between.
Downtown
Winter Garden. Oh yeah. This is interesting. So you can pull up actually in between.
Wow, great place to bring a cow.
It's a great place to bring a calf. All right. So this is probably about 7:00 in the morning.
REI right next door.
Go grab some equipment.
Don't you got chickens over here also?
a calf that's been shot in the face, not
several
just
times.
once,
Yeah,
but
several
several times behind the head. I mean, that's
Dragged across through barbed wire and
Right.
sat in mud for who knows how long.
You got to get it back, and you got to hurry up and get this thing loined out.
Yeah, you gotta get that shit.
We got to get it done. Get it done. All right, so we get it back to the house, and so your neighbors can see everything you got going on in your back of your yard.
Yeah.
But we got this calf strung up in this oak tree, and we're skinning it. And by the time I'm so exhausted, by the time we get all this done, we just take a big quarter hind off, right, straight from the butt, and we throw it on the grill, and throw the whole thing, hoof and all, on the grill.
how was it?
It was fucking disgusting. It was terrible, dude. Like
Really?
people were just eating it right off the grill, and it was just like it was not good, not good at all.
That should be like an ad campaign for meth.
It should.
And so this is how the mushroom evolves right here.
Oh, we're not even. Wow. That was just a side.
Wait, hold on. So you
this
never
is
got
how-
caught for the calf.
No, we never got caught with the guys. All right, so
I feel it seems like one of those stories where the farmer comes out and he's just like, "What the fuck?" And it's just such a random group of people that came and got it. They can't even track it.
yeah, and so anyways, so as the evening goes on, I'm talking to the guy that's got to go back to Michigan. He's just like, dude, I ain't got no fucking money, man, and I ain't got shit going on, and we're eating mushrooms, and he's like, man, do you mind if I, take back a couple pounds with me, dude? He's like, man, I can sell those for $1,000 a pound, and fucking light bulb goes off. I'm like, dude, what? You can sell mushrooms for $1,000 a pound that we just picked for free? He's like, yeah, all day long, man. So I'm like, gear the fuck up. I don't tell nobody what I got planned. I don't tell anybody what I got in store. So we hit back out for like 2 days. We're picking mushrooms, and I'm bringing it back. Just I'm not dehydrating. I'm just setting them out, letting them air dry, and then I'm vacuum sealing them, throwing them in the freezer. I've already done a little bit of research on how to do this, and now the strand is Stravarius cubensis. It's like the 3rd most potent strand found in North America. So we got a pretty good product, and this is all going in my head. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. So I pitched the idea to him like, look, man, I've got like $300 left to my name, and I've got like 14 pounds of mushrooms. I'm willing to split everything down the middle with you if you let me go up to Michigan with you, and you help me sell these. And he's like, my girl's not going for it. No fucking way are you coming up to Michigan with us. Well, he doesn't have a driver's license. And so I'm like, look, you tell her I'll drive the U-Haul, and I'll provide all the gas. And he's like, that might work. So he pitched it to her, and she's like, yeah, he can fucking do it. And so, and that's how the journey began. I remember the first stop we made was like in Nashville, Tennessee, and I saw probably about 6 or 7 college students in a Jeep just piled up. And I was like, fuck it, man, I'm going to give it a shot. And so I was like, what's up, man? Where y'all from? They're like, well, we go to fucking University of Tennessee. I'm like, hell yeah. They're like, where are you from? You don't sound like you're from around here. I said, no, I'm from Panama City. But I live down in Orlando. I kid you fucking not. They asked me, they said, do you have any mushrooms? I didn't even have to pitch it. It was fucking crazy. I don't know if it was just written all over my face that I was tripping, because I was definitely tripping. You eat mushrooms day in and day out. And I was like, as a matter of fact, I do. And I sold my first ounce for $100. And when Jeremy came back out and he saw us talking to him, he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, dude, I just made $100 off these mushrooms. He's like, get the fuck out of here. And so we get up to Michigan, and this is a hometown he stays in. It was in Ludington, Michigan. and he started making contacts with people. But he had been gone for like 5 years on the run, and everybody had contacted, they had all been wrapped up in fucking like hardcore drugs now. It had infested the little town that he lived in, so everybody's on methamphetamines or heroin, so like nobody had the resources to, you know, to purchase the shit, right? And so I'm up there for like a week. I'm broke as fuck. We done like met at least a dozen people, and they tried the product, and then they trip balls, and then you never see them again. You know, so I'm just like, man, this ain't gonna fucking work. We pull up to a gas station, and we see this dude dreads down to his ass, just bumping reggae music, and it just so happens dude knew him, right? And he starts talking, he starts pitching it a little bit. He's like, yeah, man, come on over. So we go over there, and we were actually on the Lake Michigan. His parents got a fucking badass place. And I'm like, damn, dude lives with his parents, man. This shit ain't gonna go through. We go down to his basement, and he's set up, man. He's got, you know, all the fucking the lava lamps. He's got fucking lasers, not like the high tech shit y'all got, but he's got he's just set up. You know, he said this is his life. Oh, I remember on his headboard of his bed, dude, with like different jars of different nugs. You know, because they're right there on the Canadian border, and at that time, that's where all the the good reefer was coming from, was out west and then north and then in Canada. And he's like, let me see what you got, man. And so we break it down. He starts eating them. And then he's like, I'll be right back. Fucking dude went on a mission out in the woods, dude. And like, he didn't come back for like 2.5 hours. And at that time, I'm sitting in the car like, man, here it is again, dude. Fucking another one done fell through. He comes back. He's like, dude, I'll take everything you got. At that time, I think we only had like 6 pounds left because I was eating the hell out of mushrooms. And we were throwing like little parties and shit with a bunch of degenerates that didn't have money. So we were just giving shit away just to pass the time. And he's like, man, I'll take everything you got. And I'm like, fucking, I cannot believe this just happened. So I would like to say that we ended up building a relationship with this guy, but I never heard from him again, even when I came back up. All right, so I took the proceeds that I had. We split it in half. I caught a bus, went back down south, and then that's how it all began, man. And then sort of set up a team in which I would pay people. We would go out there and we'd go pick mushrooms. And I'd pick mushrooms for about a week and a half, and then I would dry them out in these little shotgun houses that I'd rented out. We had 3 houses that we rented out, and 2 of them for drying out. The other one was actually for living whenever we were in town. And so about every 2 weeks, we would haul ass. We'd go up there to Michigan. But along the way, I'd have this atlas in which we would map out places that we would stop. And it really just started out with me and this other dude, but he flaked out because he couldn't get off. Well, he flaked out because the fucking drugs just got to his head. I remember we got in Cincinnati, Ohio, and we were dead off in the hood. Like, everybody's wearing red. You know, these are all the Bloods and shit. And he freaked out, jumped out of his truck while we were driving, all right? Yeah, the truck was still moving in the hood, and he fucking laid down in the ditch, stripped butt naked, shit all over himself, and they were like, you crackers got to get the fuck out of here, man. They had guns pulled on us and shit, and yeah, it was fucking crazy. But yeah,
I feel like there's a lot of missing pieces right there. I think we just skedaddled through that.
There's so many different.
You think
ones.
He just cracked? He just
everything. Yeah,
was it just the mushrooms?
And what's crazy is that in mushrooms, not in the methamphetamine.
Yeah,
you know, you stay up for days and days on methamphetamine. So this 100%. Dude was a professional wakeboarder, and then and then he met me.
Take my hand, I'll run your life. I love it.
Then he met me, and then so many stories. You meet a lot of cool people along the way, though, when you're selling mushrooms. You're not selling methamphetamines and cocaine and heroin. You meet people from all walks of life, college students. I've sold to fucking professors, politicians. They take us back to their house. As soon as you pull up in any town, the first plot you look for is as a head shop. That's the first place you go. And what's so interesting is you don't have to pitch nothing. Whenever you tell them you're from Florida, because they hear that southern drawl, they're like, you got mushrooms? What are you doing up here anyways? I'm just visiting. You got mushrooms? Just so happens I do. And you're carrying around this book bag slapped full of mushrooms. And so you'll hit like little festivals, and next thing you know, you'll end up on a campus and you're boiling down a pound of mushrooms into some shroom tea, and you're catering this party, and everybody's having a fucking blast. Those were good times, man, real good times. And it all came to a screeching halt. I remember we came back, and this is after a guy had given me like $13,000 worth of counterfeit money. I didn't even know it was counterfeit. I mean, that's how good it looked. I did not know it was counterfeit money. And then the chick that had lined it all up, she's like, look, I feel so bad about this. I want to let you know he's under federal investigation right now for counterfeit money, and what you have is counterfeit. And I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with it? So I get in the truck with this guy and we're driving around. He goes, either you can take this fucking money or you can take this bullet, right? And he had a pistol on him. And I was like, wow, how the fuck did I end up here, you know? But, you know, other than that situation, I never came across anybody who ever tried to rob me or whoever tried to fucking, you know, pull some shicey shit. But that was a turning point right there. Just so happens on that trip,
Interesting that he wants you to take the money. He could have just robbed you and kept the money.
I guess he could have, but he was like, you got two choices.
That's kind of a weird thing. Like, take this money.
I mean, it's not worth anything anyways.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm like, why not just
rob? Yeah.
Just take the bullet, you know? Just
I'd already had the money. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, right.
Yeah, I'd already had the money in my possession. You know, it wasn't even in the truck with us.
You were trying to present the receipt, like,
yeah.
hey.
I was like, look, dude, you giving me counterfeit cash, and I'm not taking this. He's like, you either take this fucking cash or you take this fucking bullet. And I'm like, oh yeah.
And for people that I know that was sold, I've always heard that the mushroom selling world is always chill. It's
chill as fuck, man.
The chillest people that you're selling to. You don't have people banging down your door at 4 a.m. looking for product. Like it's just
they know how to use phone.
People. Yeah, they know how to use
they know how to use phone.
Everything.
Yeah.
And they can be patient on it.
So after that was kind of like the...
No, after that is whenever we were coming back through Warrior County, Alabama. I was actually coming to Panama City to visit. And one of the rules was like we bring no guns and no drugs on the way back. Nothing but cash. So, you know, that's just one of the rules, you know. And just so happened a guy that I had with me went against those rules. He had a pistol and he had brought... And like I said, I don't even bring mushrooms back with me. But he had a little bit of meth and he had a little bit of mushrooms on him. So we get pulled over in Warrior County. And at this time, I was sleeping in the back of the car because I was exhausted. I couldn't drive no more. And they were driving. Well, they got lost. And so we're at this fucking little hodunk store. And I'm freaking out on them. Like, how the fuck did y'all get us lost? And next thing you know, this is Warrior County. This abuts to Jefferson County, which is Birmingham, Alabama, where all of our family's from. And so an unmarked detective fucking pulls up. Somebody called the police. And he pulls up and... I'm actually changing, so I'm butt naked as he pulls up, but I'm in between the door and the car, right, trying to put some board shorts on. And he's like, he wants to talk to me. That's it, you know, about the disturbance. And I'm like, fuck you, you ain't talking to me. I know my fucking rights, right? And he's like, yeah, hand behind your back, dickhead. And so he's going to try to get me for disorderly conduct. Well, at this time, I'm like, you know, acting like I am because I don't think there's anything in the car. So and the cop puts me in the back of the cop car. He's like, you know, asking me if he can search a vehicle. I'm like, no, it's not my vehicle, and you're not fucking searching the vehicle. Well, the chick that was with me, that was her car. And she's like, yeah, you can search the car. I'm like, fuck that. Don't let him search the car. Don't let him search the car. And she's like, there's nothing in it. There's nothing in it. Yeah, there was fucking definitely something in it. That fucking piece of shit we had with us had brought back a little high-point pistol, the worst pistol in the world. And yeah, he found that, man. He fucking flipped out. So they fucking just stripped the car down. They found, I kid you not, like 4 caps. 4 caps that he brought back in a cooler, man. It was fucking ridiculous. So when the cop comes back, he's like, yeah, we got you now. Well, they thought that we were running cocaine because of the large amount of cash that they found and that we were also from down south. I'm like, you motherfuckers ain't got a clue. As a matter of fact, my uncle, right, was a homicide detective for Birmingham. I'm like, fuck you. When my uncle finds out about this shit, he's going to have your fucking ass. He's like, who's your uncle? And I tell him who my uncle is. And he was like, you mean this guy? He hits him up on fucking speed dial, and it's my uncle, right? And he's like, you got my fucking nephew? He's like, fucking scumbag ass dude. He's like, lock that motherfucker up. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened? So, so I ended up going to prison in Alabama for that bullshit. You know, they can't put the pistol on me because it's not mine, but this fucking dickhead, he had some dope in his ass, and he gets in the cop car beside me, mind you. And I'm like, I can't fucking believe you got me in this shit. You better tell him that pistol was yours. And the fucking mushroom. He's like, yeah, man, I got you. And so I noticed he's fucking shuffling around. I'm like, dude, what the fuck's wrong? He's like, man, I got some dope in my ass. I'm like, what the fuck? He goes, don't leave it in the cop car. They search this bitch. So he takes it out of his ass, right? And he's trying to fucking swallow it, but it's a little square dime bags, and he can't fucking swallow. And I can smell it too. I'm fucking back there about ready to yak. And yeah, it's fucking disgusting.
Were you cuffed in the front?
No, cuffed in the back, but he's such a small dude, he was able to get his hands back in the front. It's nothing. And he's trying to fucking eat this bag, dude. I'm like, fuck, man, I can't do it. So I wasn't paying attention. He had taken and slipped it right behind one of the rail bars. So when we get down to Warrior County, Alabama jail, 4 cells. Mind you, only 4 cells. That's how small this town is. And they put me in the first cell, and they feed you like straight up Jimmy Dean biscuits twice a day. That's it. and a little styrofoam cup of water you can get. I'm in nothing but board shorts. It's freezing in there. I wrap myself up in toilet paper to warm myself, and I just go to sleep. And then I hear them in there talking to him, and he's fucking telling them everything. The whole thing about, yeah, we're selling mushrooms. It's not cocaine. He's the one that he's the mastermind behind all this shit. They got houses down in Orlando and all this shit. And I'm hearing all this shit. And I can't believe this. And I'm like, well, this is not fucking happening. They got this kid for he's never been in trouble before, and they got him with a pistol, and he's not even a felon. So it's just a misdemeanor for him. And then a couple mushrooms. He has no idea he's not in any trouble. And so nevertheless, they try to put me out on probation. Somehow, some way, I'd already been in prison twice before this. And I remember when I go to court, NCIC is down, so they can't do a background check to present the attorney or the judge. My background was just it was a miracle. And so they offered me a plea arrangement that day for 3 years probation. I was like, how much prison time are they offering? Because I don't want to get back out I'm not going to get out on probation. And they're like, really? Why would you want to? You're asking to go to prison versus probation. And I sell it to them like, I don't want to get back out on probation in Alabama. I don't have nobody here. The whole time in my head, I'm going, holy fuck, they really don't know about my history. And so they come back at me with a year and a day, and in Alabama you only do 33% of your time. And I'm like, shit, I can get out in fucking 3 months or 4 months. Hell yeah, I'll do that. Standing on my head. And I know that sounds crazy, right? Just to be able to get released that day or to go do 4 months in a prison in a state you don't even live in. But that's the way I was thinking. And so when I went before the judge, and he goes, you know what, Mr. Mewborn, this goes against everything that I believe in right now. He goes, because I can tell right now you've got to pass. And he goes, tell me, how much trouble have you been in? I said, well, I've been in a couple fights in Panama City, and, that's it. He goes, that's bullshit. So they try to call my uncle while we're in court. He doesn't answer. Somehow or another, he doesn't answer his fucking phone. And he goes, Mr. Mewborn, I don't know how I'm going to let you slide through the cracks on this. He goes, but I'm going to go ahead and let you sign this. So I signed it as quickly as possible. I go to prison in Alabama for 4 months. It's the fucking worst experience of my life, Alabama prison. It's fucking terrible.
Why?
Dude, the dirt pool. We stayed in a single wide gutted out trailer on the rec field. And my job at that time, we'd go off, we'd go outside work squads, and you're picking, I kid you not, dude, hypodermic needles, used condoms. This is shit we're picking up in the hood, And it was just it's like one of the lowest points of my life. Not the lowest point, but it was one of them. Yeah. And because I felt like I was just, I was abandoned by everybody. Oh, let me tell you about this little fucking punk bitch. So the guy that we had with us, right, he ended up getting out on probation before I even signed my time. He got out on bond. Okay. And so when my girl came in to visit me, I told her, I was like, look, there's like $8,000 that's in one of the houses, right? It's in the kitchen. Go looking underneath one of the cabinets. There's a floorboard you can just pull up. There's like $8,000 in there. Well, he was the only one that knew about it. She didn't even know about it. And that dude had fucking got out on bond, dude, and hauled ass down to Orlando and got it. And so so I couldn't bond out. I couldn't get an attorney. I couldn't do none of that shit. And I was so pissed off.
And you had her go all the way down there.
Yeah. And then I thought she took it.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought she took it, man.
Probably wasn't your most shining moment there.
No, it was not. Because I was accusing her. She came up to visitation. I'm like, you lying fucking bitch. I know you fucking took it.
After she'd gone all the way down there.
All the way down there.
Right back up.
All the way back. Yeah.
And you're telling her she's a piece of shit.
Oh, yeah. We were broke, too, because, they took all the cash that we had with us. And then, and I think that was like almost $16,000. That was like our biggest hit. It was like $16,000 that we got hit for. And, yeah, it was crazy. I felt like a real piece of shit after that.
Yeah.
It took about 6 months after I got out, and then I got the whole story. Yeah.
Quite a few of those, huh?
Yeah, definitely a few of those.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What do you feel like, just a second, what do you feel like is different about this last time you got out of prison? What was the click? What was the light bulb?
Okay, so in prison, I was selling heroin, right? And I ended up getting hooked on heroin. That was one of the things I sold on the street before I got locked up this time. And I'd always told myself, that wasn't my drug of choice. I wasn't a downer kind of guy, so I never done it, And I remember being in prison, and you sit around with all this idle time on your hands, and you see all these guys, they look like they're kind of fucking happy right now, for the most part. And so I started trying the product. Next thing you know, I'm hooked on my own fucking product, selling heroin in prison. And it was crazy, you know, and I couldn't believe it. And I told Darlene about it. I was like, you know I'm hooked on heroin. She's like, shut the fuck up. No, you're not. I was like, yeah. I'm
You shooting it or smoking it?
No, you're snorting it.
Snorting it.
Yeah. I mean, but they get it all. You know, they get needles back there, and they get anything they want. And I remember being like, I cannot believe, here it is, I'm about to get out in 6 months, you know, and I'm hooked on fucking heroin. And it was that was like the point, man. I was like, dude, I'm fucking sick and tired of this fucking lifestyle. So I kicked it what they call like kicking the chicken. You know, it was like 3 days. It was fucking miserable. You know, you can't sleep, restless leg syndrome. Your fucking bowel movements are terrible. You can't eat anything. You're sweating constantly. You got the chills. But I kicked it, and then I stopped selling it. And then, I'm back on the rec yard doing my thing again. And, fitness becomes, my passion again. You know, I got to get my fucking head out my ass. And then I think it was like 2 weeks after that, my best friend, fucking Jay, OD'd and died in prison. He's on a 15-year bid. He was getting out in like 17 months, you know, and he had made it all that way, you know, and fucking OD'd and fucking died. What's really fucked up about it is that he had his visitation suspended for 6 months from his mother. And that Sunday morning he died. They actually allowed somebody to come to my dorm and wake me up and tell me the news because they knew how close we were. I fucking broke down, man. And his mother was coming to visit him for the first time in 6 months that morning. So she found out that her son fucking just OD'd and died in prison when she came to visit him. You know, they didn't call her. They didn't do none of that. They weren't able to contact her. She was on her way. So she shows up and, you know, they got to break the news to her, you know, hey, listen, your son just died. You know, what's even crazier than that is that I hooked him up with this chick named Bree. And he was on the phone with her while he was taking his last breath. Yeah, I spoke to her after that. She was a fucking basket case. I don't even think she's came back from it yet. You know, she's fucked up. You know, she sat right there and heard him take his gasping breaths. You know, it's fucked up. Yeah.
How is it, like, I'm curious, like, how much gets inside like that? Like,
depending on what institution you're at, you know. Different institutions have, like, different products that move in, you know, like I'm sure everybody's here aware of like what Spice is or K2.
Sure,
right?
yeah. Right.
Now behind the fence though, it's a totally different product, you know, because they make it themselves on the street. They'll take like these little plastic swimming pools. They'll put like 10 pounds of this potpourri mix or whatever it is in there, whatever flour they find, and they'll take they'll take the mix, the powder that they get, right, or the liquid, and they'll take a pump spray and they'll spray it down and they'll just fluff it around, let it dry out, and they'll just spray it. Well, they'll spray it to such a consistency that when somebody takes one hit off of it, what they call gook out. You know, you got outer body experiences. They puke all up. Man, I've seen some shit that would blow your fucking mind. I've seen people where it looks like they were actually exercising demons. I've seen like green and yellow bile fucking extracted at, you know, 1,000 miles of velocity, and you're like, that's a fucking demon, man. That's a real deal live demon. And then they'll come up growling their fucking teeth, headbutting concrete walls. I've seen people like fucking, you know, break their own fucking teeth out. Dude, it's just like on the edge of a fucking rail and just start knocking their fucking teeth out. It's the fucking craziest. I saw a guy stick his hand all the way up his ass saying, yeah, a black dude. So check this out. Yeah. So obviously this is like his norm. He'll fucking hit a stick and then strip down butt naked and go run around the dorm. But at this one particular moment, you know, he's running around the dorm. The police are like, lock it down. So we're all running back to our rooms. And I remember sitting up there on the second top tier and looking out my window at this fucking black dude in white socks, you know, running around. The police were trying to chase him. And he drops down on his back, legs up in the air, and he fucking shoves his hand in his ass, screaming, get it out of me, get it out of me, get it out of me. The police almost get him. Boom, he jumps up, runs up to the second tier, right to my door, starts banging on my door. I'm like, oh, fuck. See the police, big-ass fucking Chico comes around the corner and goes to apprehend him. Well, the fucking black dude throws his arms up like he's going to rush him. The officer scoops him up, suplexes him on the fucking ground, body slams this guy. Well, he almost falls out from underneath the tier. They got him by his knee and his ankle. One knee and one ankle. And they drag him back up. And you can see he just comes back to life. He's like, what the fuck happened? Just that quick. You're like, holy shit. Wow. Yeah, it's fucking insane, man. It's insane. So, all right, so that's K2. So you got some institutions that get a lot of that in, and then you got everything that comes in behind the gate, man. You'll see people, acid. You'll see, not a lot of fucking acid, but the majority, like the money makers, is going to be your spice and your heroin. That's going to be the money makers. I don't know what's in that K2, but it's highly, highly addictive. And then you see people doing some really fucked up shit just to get a little sack, just to get their next fix in prison. It's your people buy you fucking, your package, you get your clothes, your sweaters, and your food packages, and it all goes out to the dope man. You get people, calling their family talking about they're going to fucking kill me if I don't get them $100. And nobody's killing nobody. Nobody's killing nobody over a fucking $100. But you got people that are telling their families this so that they can get that extra $100 in, so that they can get high for fucking 2 days.
Did you see some shit like that go down, like hits or anything like that?
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, that's like certain camps, like Liberty, Jackson, Washington Main Unit. Yeah, that happens on a weekly basis.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. I haven't ever been a part of it, but yeah, like this guy I got really close to. He wanted to get into a organization called Unforgiven, right? And at this time, I was in the dorm with him, and we were both in close custody. All right, so you got 3 different custodies. You got your community, your minimum, and then you got close custody. This is for the state of Florida. And at that time, I think I came in on minimum custody. Excuse me. You got 4. You got community, which means you can go to work release and outside work squads. Then you got minimum, meaning you can work outside work squads. Then you got medium, means you can work around certain people, like in the medical or in education for medium custody. And then you got closed custody, which means you're kind of restricted as to what kind of jobs you can have. So I remember going in on this bid, I was minimum custody, but my custody always gets jacked up because I'm always fighting or doing dumb shit. And so bit by bit, my custody kept going up. And I ended up being close custody, and you get sent over to, the two-man dorms, 2-man cells. And this guy in particular, he's talking about always want to become, a member of Unforgiven, this and that. They're a bunch of cool-ass cats. They stand up for what they believe in. It's a brotherhood. They're not a prison gang. And he wanted to be a part of that shit, right? And so he wanted to make a name for himself, be part of something, because his whole life he was looking to be a part of something, and he wanted to make a difference, and he figured this was his way of doing that, a positive difference at that, and so he took it upon himself. There was a guy that came in that was Unforgiven also, but underneath bad terms. He had what they call checked in, means protective custody, right? And whenever you check in underneath protective custody, you get a hit put out on you to take your patch. That means you either cut it off or you have it tattooed over. And so the guy had taken it upon himself. He was just a probate, all right? Meaning you make no calls whatsoever. You're pretty much a shit bootlicker. And when this guy came in, he had sort of like befriended him. He didn't even know the guy was Unforgiven at first, and then somebody stepped to him, and I was sitting in his room, and I overheard this conversation. He's like, "Hey man, that's a brother of yours?" And he's like, "No man, I didn't know that." Well, typically whenever you hit the compound and you're a brother, the first thing you do is you seek out other members of your organization. That way you let them know, "Hey, I'm here. This is what I'm doing," and you show them paperwork of who you are and what you've done. And So he approached this guy. He's like, "What's up, man? You're Unforgiven. You ain't tell nobody what's going on." He's like, "Oh, yeah, man. Fucking, I just got out of the box. I was on CM, and that wasn't the case at all." So the dude receives a kite that says that dude had checked in from over at another camp.
It's a kite.
A kite is it's a form of communication. It's just a little letter, right, that you have handed off from person to person to person until it gets to where it's destination.
That's a string. They run a string.
Yeah. So those are kites also, right? So if you're in the box, right, and then you want to get some communication over to another room that you don't want nobody else to be privy of, you fasten some type of weighted device that'll slide up underneath the door, and attached to it is going to be some type of string or a lanyard, whether it be, bed sheet. Typically it's a bed sheet. You'll tear them up. And you get really good at this shit. You start building ramps. You going from top tier, bottom tier. People are helping you fish it from one door to the next, and it becomes a game because you get behind that door, and you're behind that door 24 hours a day. You're just looking for anything, Sometimes you're just fishing for fun, dude. Just to the hell of it, Or if you need to swap batteries to fucking smoke a cigarette or a joint, or just looking for something to fucking do, And so this dude received this kite, man, and it said, this guy was a check-in. Well, he didn't do any validation behind it. Took it upon himself, and he made up what they call it's a $1.50. A $1.50 is just that. It's an instrument that costs literally like $1.50. To make. It's just a single razor blade sandwiched in between a big pen cartridge. Not the actual ink cartridge, but the plastic cartridge itself, the pen tube, and you just put it in there. That's the simplest and easiest way of doing it. That whole shit of like melting it into a toothbrush and all that just takes too much time. There's no point in it. Just break open a razor, slide it in a fucking empty pen cartridge, and the dude fucking went and swiped this dude's back. Watch out, and yeah, dude. You can tell the dude had never done it before, and he was terrified of not only the repercussions, but I mean, like you see this blood that's running down somebody's back, and and you're a witness to this. It's unlike anything you've ever seen, but they've got this one thing, man, and it's, dude, listen, it's bad as fuck. Typically the $1.50s are reserved for people that are snitches or child molesters, in which they get swiped across the face, right? And at first you don't think it's done anything because it's just such a clean cut, but then you see the blood pour, and it takes, about a second or two, and it's the longest second or two you've ever seen in your fucking life. But when it happens, that person knows, they feel the warmth of the liquid going down their face, and they freak the fuck out. But anytime you see somebody with like a scar across their face, that's typically indicative that they've snitched on somebody, or they're a chomo, also known as a child molester. So,
is this kind of like this? You saw this in the prison that you're at, but is that kind of the normal thing across?
Correct. Yeah,
everybody.
Yeah. And at one point, it became a fashion statement though. So people were actually $1.50 in people for just, random dumb shit that could have been resolved, by just taking care of your debt, So it got really fucking bad at one time.
Is that from like new kids on the block coming in thinking like this is...
Yeah, exactly. People want to make a name for them. So you get these jitterbugs that come in, right, and they've got 15, 20-year sentences, right? And they feel like they've got to come in here and make a name for themselves. And so they'll find out somebody owes, a considerable amount of money to this organization or whatever like that, and they'll take it upon themselves to go over there and splack a person across the face with a fucking razor blade. Ugh. And, and that's reserved for people that are snitches and child molesters. That's really what's for. But, and then you got, now, really a person that, hasn't taken care of their debts or has done some other, like, fucked up shit. And that's typically what everything resolves around in prison, or debts. Mm-hmm. Debts and disrespect. They get what they call poked up. That's where the shank comes into play. It could be a piece of fencing material, fucking plexiglass. Plexiglass is like the new thing because it gets through metal detectors, And, you'll see, like, I've seen literally, like, hundreds and hundreds of different styles of knives. But the plexiglass are the ones that fucking scare me the most, dude, because you can get through metal detectors. Mm-hmm. They're terrifying, dude, because you don't know if they've got one on them or not. But I know I've seen some pretty shit that is more terrifying than plexiglass, actually. I've seen actually people like with a lawnmower blade fucking. I've only seen that one time, but bitch actually had Haitian, actually had a fucking lawnmower blade. You're like, how the fuck did you get that, But, a fucking lawnmower blade. It was fucking insane. What the whole lawnmower blade, though, is only half of it, but it was definitely fashioned into a sword.
It sounds like something, with your bedside, you could just break off a piece of metal or something.
It's not easy like that. It's not like, I'm going to tell you, like, one of the most common ones is fencing material, because fences all around you. So you'll see somebody on the edge of the rec yard, and they'll be over there playing by the fence. They're over there just trying to get a piece of the fencing material. The actual flat bar is probably the best one, but you'll see these guys, they'll just take the actual fencing material that you see cooled up. Those things bend so easy, though, Mm-hmm. But
how are they breaking it off?
Just working it back and forth, working it back and forth. Yeah, you got plenty of time to do it.
And they're just turning that into like a shank.
You just sit over there. You'll see people sitting over there on the concrete working something back and forth. It could be one or two things. It's somebody that is actually they'll take like sunglasses, right, and make a different profile and put them in a different set of frames. But typically 9 times out of 10, they're over there sharpening a piece.
Is there so many people in the rec yard that the guards just can't keep up with seeing everything that's going on?
Not just that, but depending on what camp you're at, a lot of the officers don't even give a fuck. They don't. Wow. Yeah, they'll just sit back. They know this is going to go down. They know that's going to go down, and then they know this is the life behind the wire, though.
You can't stop everything.
Yeah, there's a certain amount that they don't want to step in everything.
Correct.
They don't want to be on the end of whatever's being created there, I guess.
And you'd be surprised on how many officers are actually in on it, that are actually privy to what's about to go down before it goes down.
That's also an interesting thing, right? That that balance, that that respect that they have to earn from the prisoners themselves too, so they don't get fucked up.
Correct. Yes, definitely.
Or taken advantage of.
Yeah. So you've got some officers that are feared, in which eventually they get taken care of, and then you've got officers that are respected, who will still run down on you and bust you for doing some dumb shit, but they're more respected because they treat you like a man.
Yeah.
And that's, at the end of the day, everybody wants to be treated like a fucking human.
Yeah.
And but the officers who just refuse to look at us as people who have made mistakes in our past, and who refuse,
they're better than you.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially up in the Panhandle, you'll come across a lot of officers who feel like they're better than you, but unbeknownst to the general public, they're out there doing fuck shit them damn selves,
Right.
Mm-hmm. And either they're fucking slamming up on their fucking niece, or fucking doing some real fuck shit like that. It'll blow you away, the shit that goes on.
Do you have any guards that eventually ended in your camp or it?
No, but I do know of officers from the street who have gotten locked up, and they usually stay in what they call PC, protective custody. Remember I was over at Washington Annex, and they've got a dorm that is dedicated just for protective custody, and you got some high profile names, people that have been busted in Florida, but and I can't recall them at this time, but remember hearing like some high profile officers who had shot somebody from the street, in the back, while they were running away, those kind of situations, scenarios. Yeah. But I've seen an officer fucking get doused in the face with hot grease. Oh. Yeah. Matter of fact, Sergeant not McKeith, and damn, what was his name? He got fucking doused with hot grease. Oh, I saw this chick. I cannot remember her name at this time, but she's over at Washington Main Unit, and she's like one of the worst out of all of them. She's got an eagle eye. She knows you're about to do something before you know you're about to fucking do something. She's that fucking hip to the game. Wow. She's been doing it for fucking 30 years, and but I seen her get knocked out. But she actually instigated the fight. Like, she's ready to throw down. She's a big old woman. She's like 6'4", 6'5". And she don't take no shit. She don't take no shit. Yeah, then she's like 50, 60 years old. She ain't taking no shit. And I remember this fucking dude just fucking knocked her, slapped the fuck out, and then got on top of her. Somehow, some way, she came back to, and she had him wrapped up. But man, like when the officers come and they're gonna deal with you because you just laid a hand on one of their officers, dude, it's over with. It is over with, dude. You will not be heard from, seen from for quite a while. No.
Meaning you get the shit beat out of you, or you just get locked up?
No, you definitely get the shit beat out of you. No. I got into a fight I used to be a wine man, right? So I would make 9 gallons of wine every 9 days, and I would do it in food service. And so my lick was I worked the swill room. All right? Nobody wants to work the fucking swill room. That's where all of the fucking leftovers go, pile up in big 55-gallon drums, right? And we separate that. We put the produce in one, and then we put all of the fucking hot foods in another. And so underneath the produce, though, because we could let that ride for a couple weeks, I would hide gallon jugs, right? And that's how I'd make my wine, because whenever the officers go back there, they'll go back there and they'll check. They don't want to go in there. It stinks so fucking bad. We loved it, though, because the officers don't go back there fucking with you, and that's where you can do all your dirt. And I remember we just got so shit-faced drunk, and I was like, man, I want to fight somebody. They're like, man, chill the fuck out, dude. Just chill the fuck out. And so I decided to pick a fight with, like, the biggest dude I could find, this dude named 12, this black guy. He's the head of the Cutthroats out of Jacksonville. And he's like, Kel, come on, man, you don't want to do this. I was like, bitch, get there, motherfucker. He's like, dude, you don't want to do this. And I did it, and I said, well, fuck you, nigger. And he's like, oh, really? Yeah, fuck you. Come on now. and the thing about it is, so we were cool. So he knew the only reason why I said that was to get him to fight, and because I'm not that guy. I'm cool with everybody in prison pretty much. And he was like, fuck, why'd you do that, man? And he gave me the fucking business, dude. He did. He gave me the business. Yeah. He fucking mopped me up. And so And so we were going at it for 2 or 3 minutes, which is a long fucking time.
Oh yeah, that's a whole UFC round.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it was a long fucking
It's a
time.
recent McGregor fight right there.
So the officers come in, and there's 2 big old honkies, and these are the guys that work the inside grounds. And I remember, like, we had already split up, but he had went off, and I'm all lumped the fuck up. And my buddy Tuck, he was still talking shit about how I just got my ass whooped. And so when the police come in, I was like, "What the fuck, y'all want some too?" And they were like, "Bitch, put your hands behind your back. Cuff up," is what they say it, right? And I was like, "Fuck you, you cuff up." And so they eventually got their hands on me, got me to cuff up. I remember walking down Tower Road, and I'm steadily talking fucking shit. Well, they scooped me up off my feet and put me forehead down into the fucking concrete. Yeah, do you know that you've seen like the unicorn bumps? Yeah, I definitely got one of those instantly. So we're about halfway down Tower Road again, and I start talking more shit, dude. I remember my feet coming off the ground. I'm like, whoa, 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 I'm sorry. I was just fucking kidding, man. I'm sorry. Just fucking kidding. We get to the nurse's station. When I sit down, she's like, "Sweetheart, what the fuck happened to you?" And I looked up, and I was like, "I tripped and fell, Yeah, I got fucked up. Fucked up decent. Yeah.
Well, I think the moral of the story is that we're glad that those are just stories now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, those are stories.
Yeah. It's just so wild to see how far things have come.
Yeah, they definitely have, dude.
Yeah.
I remember at one point in my life where I thought that was what my life was meant to be. I would do my bid. I would get back out. I would try to get back on my grind, hustle, power up a little bit, and I would go back to prison again, and rekindle those relationships that you had with all the people that you miss so much, because you build relationships.
Oh, the bonds
they're so fucking deep, and
Yeah.
the camaraderie you get with some of those guys, it's sad to know those guys will never see the nut.
Did you ever see Trailer Park Boys?
No. I tried to get into that one time. I was like, man, I just can't watch this shit.
So, like, their seasons end with them always going back to prison, and they're cursing, like, "I don't want to go back." And then the next season starts with them having a blast. And they're like, "I don't want to leave. Like, I've got
crazy,
money
man.
going, everything."
Yeah.
They're like, "Hey, bye, everybody."
Yeah, it is. It blows you away. I remember, whenever you leave prison, right, and you're happy as fuck to leave prison, but at the same time, as you're walking out those gates, you're looking back, man, and you're leaving behind a lot of people that you don't want to leave behind.
Yeah.
A lot of people that you hope that, whenever they get out, you get back in touch with them and shit. And that's hardly ever the case. It happens, it does sometimes happen. But that's hardly ever the case.
I mean, what's the reincarceration rate? Like, it's got to be.
It's somewhere around the 80-something% in the state of Florida. It might even be a little bit higher than that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a pipe dream to think.
So I know that I believe the last statistic I saw for people that are on probation is like a 3%, 3% success rate on somebody completing probation in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, you're like
How
one
does
of the
that not
3%.
scream you gotta fix, you gotta do something different?
I don't know if you do got to do something different. I mean, it's pretty much you make that decision. If you get back out living the same kind of fucking lifestyle, and some of the things that they put in place, whenever you get out on probation, they're really not that difficult. But some of the people that get out like on house arrest or community control, you're set up for failure.
Yeah.
Especially for somebody that gets out and they don't have a driver's license. I think that's one of the biggest problems with people, coming back. The recidivism rate because somebody doesn't have a driver's license is fucking ridiculous. It really is. I mean, you have to fucking have a driver's license in order to make it in this world, it seems like.
Well, it's also about, like, humanizing. Like you said earlier, like, when you want a corrections officer to just view you as a human, it's the same thing with the criminal of the justice system. Instead of we, like, villainize people, you make a bad decision that we've all made, right? Everyone in this room has, on some level, done very similar things that, we just happen not to get popped for.
100%.
And it's interesting that once you're caught up in that system, and it's not the fact that it's a scarlet letter, it's the mentality that comes with it, the thinking, the belief systems that get instilled in so many people behind bars of, I'm a piece of shit, this is what I'm meant to be, this is who I'm going to be. I mean, that's the really unfortunate part. And watching that when I would go visit you, because one thing that really did spook me a lot of times when I come there, it was fucking boys camp, summer camp. You ran it so hard that it wasn't a punishment. You're like, oh, I would like to be out. I would like to be in the free world. But at the same time, you had such a thing going on inside that it really wasn't, unless you got put in the shoe or, you know, something happened, you know, whatever, but it really wasn't that bad. You'd adjusted that much to it.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
And then that's spooky to see, you know, when you see your brother and you're like, fuck, you know, I mean, that's why I'm so impressed at the change that you've made, because that takes a lot of change.
You know, I'm going to tell you what's fucked up about the system, right, is that we're still using an archaic system of, like, locking people up. I mean, we've been using that for fucking, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And obviously it's thousands of fucking years, you know, and obviously it's not fucking working, guys. So somebody, I don't remember, I think it was over in Germany, and don't quote me on this, right? So what they're doing is, like, say you get locked up, right, and they still allow your family to fucking come in. You actually sit down on a fucking rec yard or something, do a fucking picnic or whatever, you know. But what they're trying to do is, like, you know, integrate the family back in to establish that, hey, man, these are the people that fucking care about you. You know? This is what really,
so what matters.
This is meaningful, right?
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, there were some other things that were institutional also. And I think one of the biggest moves that they could actually make is that, so somebody commits a fucking crime. Let's just say it's for burglary or theft or selling drugs or something like that, you know. You definitely, you know, you lock them up, right? But they got to understand that there's got to be some type of recourse. How are you going to pay back to society? How are you going to make a change? What are you going to do? Okay, which direction are you going to go? And now if they're willing to get back out, I'll say, all right, look, let's work a work program. All right, let's teach you a trade, but we're not going to teach it to you. We're going to allow somebody else to do it. So you allow these guys who have committed, whether it be a burglary, a theft, you know, or a drug crime or something like that, don't go get fucking locked up, you know. Get back out and do something good with your life. Find a purpose, all right? Because, you know, you have to create purpose in order. You have to create a different purpose. You can't be on that fucking grind anymore being a dope boy. You have to identify with something else. So whether it be a skilled trade in the construction industry, or it be something having to do with, I love how you've gotten into, you know, like marketing, consulting, and business coaching and stuff. You'd be amazed at some of the minds that are behind prison that are capable of doing these jobs right here, but they're not. They're only pretty much given the opportunity to get out and fucking go grab a hammer,
right?
Fucking jump on a roof somewhere or something, or fucking go right behind a garbage truck. I give it to all the guys that are in those industries. I'm in that industry, you know, in construction, but there's just so much more out there that is available for people, and they don't fucking realize it, dude. There's a guy out there, Tim Watson. He's done some time, and he's on YouTube. He's a huge proponent on trying to lift people up, and a lot of it has to do around fitness of prison fitness, you know. And I think with the advent of, you know, the internet, with like TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook, Instagram and stuff, and, you know, when people get out and they see these stories of people that have overcome, you know, getting out of prison and, you know, and making a change and making a comeback, and, you know, more people get exposed to that people start realizing, man, fuck, dude, I can make a change. I can actually come back from this shit. And so that's why I think it's fucking awesome. I just think they need to be more aware of it as they're getting out. It's not, here, go see this fucking community center, you know?
Right.
Fuck that community center, man. That community center ain't doing a fuck thing, man. They're just receiving social funding to fucking do what? A revolving door. Nobody wants to be part of a fucking community center when they want to get out of prison, dude. They want to buy some clothes. They want to get a fucking good job. They want to go fucking work out. These are the things they want to go do, you know? And they also want to feel like they can, they want to find somebody that they can, you know, connect with. So, you know, I think that's just one of the things I know. Whenever I get back in touch with people that are just getting out of prison, I'm like, look, man, you need to follow this guy straight up and look at what he's doing and just follow his lead. Because I don't have the fucking blueprint. I don't. I follow these other guys, whether it be on Instagram, TikTok, fucking YouTube, whatever. I read their books, you know, and I don't have a fucking blueprint. I just follow theirs, you know?
Yeah.
I ain't trying to reinvent the fucking wheel, man.
That's the other thing, man. That's the reason. The whole reason we wanted to have you on was so that people can understand, one, you know, people that haven't ever been exposed to that, but also the people that have, that you can do it.
Oh yeah, you fucking definitely have. And it really takes a commitment. It takes discipline.
It takes being tired of the shit.
It takes being tired of the shit. Well, you got to create a life that you're not worth. I mean, that's not. You got to create a life that you're not willing to give up anymore.
You're not trying to escape from.
Yeah, and I've created a life right now that I am not willing to give it up. I'm not. You know, I'm not going to give this life up now.
Well, I remember back in the day, it never made sense to me from the get-go when I sat down with my drug dealer and found out, what kind of money he was making. And I broke down his numbers. I mean, this is when I first started selling Cutco. And I broke down his numbers with him, and I was like, what are your margins? Really getting into the nitty-gritty. And he never really said, I was like, dude, you're only making, like, granted, it's straight profit, but, 65, 70 grand a year. I was like, all the paranoia, all the running you're doing, you're only making 65, 70. He's like, man, I never really thought about that. I was like, dude, if you hustled this hard in any fucking job, you would make that same legally.
Yeah.
And not have this,
More.
But there's a lot of things that go along with drug dealing also.
True.
Sure.
A lot of perks,
It's
a lot of
a
culture.
lifestyle. I mean,
Well, it's just when I heard that was like unappealing to me, and I asked him, I was like, what about the harder stuff, cocaine, heroin, like what are the margins there? And he told me the margins there, but then I get gun shy on, the amount of time you have to serve with those
If you get
margins.
caught.
Yeah. So I was like,
And you're
it's like I want the penalty of the marijuana, but I want the margin of the cocaine.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if that was the case, like I for sure would have hopped right into it. But like I started selling a little bit, and then I was like, oh, this isn't really worth it after having seen, what you guys went through. So
Yeah, I was never a good drug dealer.
no.
I was never a good drug dealer.
You want to talk about Marsha? You want to bring her back up? There was one Christmas where she asked me what I wanted, and I was like, I don't know. She's like, you want a gaming system? And I was like, I mean, sure. She goes, your brother's making that dope boy money. Better soak it up before it's gone.
Yeah, because it ain't going to last.
Oh,
it
man.
does not fucking last.
Not much did, but hey, it was all worth it. If for nothing else, a good laugh.
Yeah.
Great podcast episode.
Still can't believe it. It still blows me away that we're sitting here right now talking about this.
Yeah. And by the way, one thing I want to reflect to you, I mean, it's like, yeah, you might feel like you don't have the blueprint, but I mean, this is how blueprints start.
It's interesting. I say that I don't have the blueprint, but I can go ahead and give you a couple tips. And
I was about to say, you have a pretty solid blueprint.
Listen,
right?
so there's a couple of tips in life in which if you're trying to overcome any obstacles, right? And that is, first of all, you got to make that commitment. You got to decide this is what I want to motherfucking do, all right? And then you got to go all in on it, okay? And at the time, you got to do a little bit of research. And if this is what I want to do, how do I do it? All right. Well, you ain't got to come up with all the answers on yourself. You find out who the fuck else is doing it, and then you follow their lead, right? You find somebody else who's doing exactly that what you want to do, and you follow their lead. And then you want to surround yourself around those motherfuckers, okay? It doesn't matter if you've never even, stepped foot in that type of world or living. You're never going to get there if you don't make that attempt. You got to be willing to get your fucking feet wet. You got to be. I mean, it's going to be so fucking uncomfortable. You got to embrace the suck. I love that fucking term that you hear in CrossFit. You got to embrace the suck. But, a couple of tips that I would give to people is wake up early. Wake up early, go to sleep early. Eat healthy. Get a fitness regimen. Right? And just make some goals, man. Make some goals that are realistic, that you can check off. And as time goes by and you start to see things are rolling, man, you build that momentum. And that fucking momentum, dude, is very difficult to stop.
It's addicting.
It's fucking so addictive.
Hell yeah, it is.
Every aspect of life, man, is very fucking addictive. And it's easy to stray off, though, so you got to be fucking focused, man.
Yeah.
You got to stay focused. Even whenever you know things are not going your fucking way, because they're not going to go your way 100%
Have grace.
Yeah, dude. You got to be realistic. You got to understand. You got to listen to people also, man. I hate the fucking idea behind Instagram in which you see all of the blitz, all of the glory. I love to hear the fucking stories of the struggle. Those are the ones that impact me the most, are the ones of the struggle. I don't even give a fuck if you've overcome that struggle yet. I want to hear about it.
Yeah.
Hear how dark and how deep it is.
Realness.
The realness, man. That's what I love hearing.
Yeah. Well, hey, I think I speak for everyone when we say we loved hearing this.
This was great. Thanks
Hell
for coming
yeah.
on, man.
Yeah. So
I appreciate
And all the
it.
stories I've heard, this is even topped it.
I would tell you
so
what, I
much
was
more.
very, very, very uncomfortable coming on here and doing this. Really, at first.
Yeah.
I feel so comfortable now, man. I appreciate you guys letting me get out of that box.
hey, appreciate you stepping out of it.
Yeah,
Hell yeah, we do.
yeah, for sure. Thanks for stepping out of it, embracing the suck.
Embracing the suck, man.
So if people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
They can find me on Facebook, or they can find me on Instagram, MaxStrong21. That'll be my IG. And then for, I'm not even going to tell you how I come across that name, Max Strong, but that I had to come up with a name while I was in prison using social media. I couldn't just use my
Right.
real name. But it still goes back a little bit deeper than that, how I came across the name Max Strong. But yeah, that was the name that I used whenever I was in prison.
Maybe that'll be for another episode.
That could definitely be for another episode. It's a dark episode. Very dark episode. And
Coming soon.
Well, hey, if you love this episode, please share it with someone that you know, someone you love. And hey, if you share it on your Instagram, just tag us. We'll repost it. And if you want to connect with us, I'm at Colton DM. This is at Dylan Whidden.
At Michael.Hammock, HAMMACK.
All right, guys. Hey, we love you out there. We'll see you next week.